raise that bar.
That extra gear, the first 3 steps.
Huge strides in the performance.
That I might not be the player I am today.
All right, welcome to another episode of Behind the Gear, and we're lucky today, folks. Anyone who's listening to this podcast, we're lucky. We've got a journeyman today, and I say journeyman as far as a guy who's played pro for over 5-6 years now. Tyler Butler's joining us today, and I had the privilege of playing college hockey with Tyler for 2 years, and wow, what a beauty! That's probably why I didn't go on to play much longer, because after I met him, my game went downhill. Ty, how you doing, buddy?
Good, pal. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thanks for coming on, man. I think obviously, we've kept in touch limited, over the years. Everyone gets busy and has stuff going on. But when I finished and I was done playing and stuff like that, I kind of kept tabs a little bit on you, just seeing where you're going, and, all like you would with any buddies. But and then, went another year, and then another year, and then another couple of kids, and then another year, and then another year.
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Yeah, totally. So from obviously Kanata and Ottawa area region, but where are you right now? So where are you living right now?
Fort Wayne.
Go ahead.
Fort Wayne, Indiana. We end up settling down here after it was the last full stop on the tour. We just loved it here, and it's just been a great place to raise the kids. And I'm sure we'll get into how many kids I have here later. So we'll save that. We'll keep them guessing.
Yeah. We'll take a poll later, see how many kids you think Tyler has. No, but I mean, so yeah, we'll start off at the beginning a little bit. But growing up, obviously, in Ontario, in Canada, out by Ottawa area, were you one of those young guys who got into hockey right away? Like, were your parents pretty eager with hockey, and did you kind of jump into it right away, or were you a little bit later getting into it?
No, I was very fortunate to have the dad in the big backyard. He, I think at the age of 2 or 3, had the double runners on me, and we had a rink in our backyard. Yeah. And it's something I had. I think we moved out of that house when I was 10, I think. And every year he'd flood a rink down. He went through. As I got older and the curves started getting bigger on the old Christian stick, the shed windows started taking the toll. Yeah. But no, and then I think I started playing. I was like 3 or 4, started mice, and just kind of kept stuck with it after that.
Yeah, kind of a really, that's kind of the normal Canadian hockey boy story or girl story, really, right? Getting on the blades early and then kind of going through it.
Start young and just kind of stick with it. And
yeah. Now, what were your parents?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go.
No, I said I was fortunate. They were very supportive, kind of allowed me to play it if I wanted to, and I kind of liked it early on, and just kind of stuck with it, and had the old obviously try out early, and I think I made one of the Ottawa Valley Titans was like the squad to make. If you made that squad, you were doing good, and I made it the first year, and then got cut the second year. Funny, I was texting my old man because I was trying to figure out, because I didn't remember exactly when and what, and he was like, "Yeah, you got cut that year," and he just writes in brackets politics.
I love it, man.
I'm like, Billy's still holding on 35 years later.
Yeah, even back then there was politics. Now, growing up though, I mean there is politics, man. And even when I was a kid and you were a kid, same thing. Like, we're similar in age, and there was tons of politics. I found my parents really shielded me. Like, my parents weren't really in the know. They didn't know the coaches. They didn't hang out with the people that had the best players, or what I mean. I didn't hang out with the AAA kids all the time. So I don't remember politics when I was a kid. You know what I mean? As far as like that kind of stuff. But like, was your dad pretty involved? Like, did he coach? Did he kind of get involved as you were going through it?
Yeah, he coached. There was a couple years. He was always an assistant coach. He played college hockey up here in Canada. Yeah. So he knew the game. He was a smart guy. He was pretty good at it. So it wasn't like you had that dad who came on with shin pads on and couldn't skate. My dad could actually wheel around and kind of show the defenseman what we needed to do. Yeah. And which was good and bad, because who the first one to get benched was at times to send a message was his kid. So sure. there was some the old school silent rides home where mom's in the front seat looking back at both of us the whole time, wondering who's going to budge. But no, he was great, and he was still huge when from minor hockey to junior hockey to college to pro. He'd be one of those guys be like, "Hey, you played good tonight," or "Yeah, not your best," and he'd be like, he wasn't an ass about it, but he would just be like, hey, this is what I saw, which is always huge because you have your perception in your mind of how you played.
Yeah.
But when you have somebody looking at you who, he's got his heart invested in me. So he wants to see me do well. So, the summers I decided to be a jackass and not train hard enough. He was in my ear about it, and we'll get into it later. But the proof's in the pudding. You put the work in, it's going to show up. And I found that out, through and through again when I did, and didn't push myself to the brink every summer. So
yeah. No, definitely. What was like some of those minor hockey car rides home? Because this is something that's a kind of I don't want to say a hot topic, but parents a lot of times they don't know, like, and you don't know what you don't know. So your kid plays bad at 8 years old, and you're like, you're kind of giving it to him because you don't know much about hockey. Maybe you never played, and you're kind of giving it to him because, man, you're better than that, or your daughter, laid an egg in net, and you're like, man, you're kind of giving it to them. But what were some of those rides home like for you? Because your dad was a hockey guy, so he kind of got it. I'm sure he was passionate, but he probably saw you as like, man, this kid's got a little bit of potential. He's pretty good. When would he kind of cross that line and get pissed off at you? I guess mad over kind of just being like, hey, you didn't play that well today. Like what really pissed him off?
It was more
what really set him off?
Effort and penalties.
Okay.
Just giving effort and taking dumb penalties or just doing dumb stuff. But I mean, you're a kid. You don't realize it's dumb at the time. Look back now, some of the stuff you pulled on, you're like, holy shit, no wonder he yelled at me in the car. Or we couldn't sell for slush puppies at the canteen after back in the day. But no, he was good, and he was fair.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I look back. He wasn't a dad who I look back and think like, oh my God, this guy just ruined my hockey childhood. He really didn't.
Yeah.
Same thing. Mom was the biggest cheerleader. She was the one videotaping all the games, and Dad was usually on the bench, or if not, he was on coach's row, where these, the dads who like to sit away from everybody and they stand in the corner. And he did that all the way through till I was, 18 or 19 in the junior team in Kanata. Him and 3 guys would stand on the same area every game. It was like their area. So.
And as a player,
it was great.
And as a player, you could do warm up, you could play your shifts, and you always knew they were in that corner, right? Like if you made a big play in that area, you always I remember my dad used to have the same thing, kind of an area they always stood in, and didn't have to look up. You knew he was there, And if you made a big play in that area,
you're trying to run a guy into that corner just because your old man's there. You're trying to.
Exactly.
Hit somebody as hard as you could into the glass.
Yeah, totally. And if you miss him, you just whack your stick on the board, so it's nice and loud.
Or take a penalty and watch him go like that.
Yeah. Okay, last question with your dad. I don't want to beat up on Billy, but outdoor rink. So we jammed an outdoor rink in our backyard, more so because of COVID, just keep the kids busy. But I've really it's been really fun, man. It's small, but it's been fun. So growing up, was there a lot of direction on the outdoor rink? Was there a lot of instruction, or was it just go out play? Did he ever strap him on with you and go out and just snap pucks around a little bit?
Oh yeah. He would come out with me, and there was never any. It was just again, I was very fortunate because it was in the winter and it was hockey. He'd jump out there with me, snap pucks around, and passing pucks and shoot. And in the summer, hockey equipment went away. Then it was baseball gloves, and I can I was thinking about this. My old daughter, she wanted to play catch every night this summer. Just go out and play catch or play volleyball and stuff. And I just thought to that was me with my dad.
Yeah.
Hey, Dad, quick catch. I mean, the guy just worked, 10 hours a day. Hey, Dad, quick catch every night. And he did. And that's why I always try and take that with my girls. Hey, do you want to go shoot hoops? Yeah, absolutely. You never take it for granted. You never take it for granted. It's just like, hey, Dad, can you come do this? You're like, you know what? Yep. And now we got, these things everywhere. Phones. It's just like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to put this down for a few minutes. Let's just go do nothing. Let's go play catch or volleyball and laugh. And then, so he was huge for that. It was great.
Oh, I love that, man. No, I think you're right. I think that's a massive thing with kids and parents, right? As parents, taking time with your kids sometimes. And there's days where you're like, I can't do it. I'm busy or whatever, but man, try to take advantage. Yeah, for sure. I had the pad strapped on this afternoon, blew both my knees out playing on the outdoor rink. Had the mask on, everything. He's firing ball he's 8 years old, not even hard. Fired a tennis ball at me. I'm flinching, turning away. Dad, why are you turning away? So I don't want to get hurt, man.
No,
come on.
You never saw a shot you like to block anyway. So.
No. It's the old
You're
flamingo
just
bunny.
carrying on.
Flamingo. You got to teach that. You teach that now. You just got to get one shin pad in front of it, boys. Just one. Just one.
Yeah. Just getting that angle.
Yeah, exactly. So then kind of moving on to minor hockey and stuff, you get an opportunity, obviously, to play some junior. And then at what age for you, like, was the OHL a big thing for you back then? Like, were you, because I know for me growing up in Sudbury, like, the Sudbury Wolves were huge and the OHL was a big thing. And I knew at that point I wasn't good enough to play in the O. Like, I knew at 15, 16, I was short, I was small. Like, back then it was a bigger guy's game. It was totally different. For you, did you have that kind of dream of playing in the O?
No. I actually, I pretty much quit after my 15-year-old major bantamweight. I was done with hockey. Got a call from Archie Mulligan, which was our Kanata junior A coach. I'll get into him later, but just one of the salt of the earth best hockey guys around.
Yeah.
And asked me to come out after my major bantamweight. Got cut. And I was like, oh,
thanks a lot.
This isn't part of the plan. Yeah. You asked me to come out, then you cut me. But what he had done was he got a hold of the junior B coach, Roy Green, in the Perth Blue Wings. So the Perth is just a little bit outside Ottawa. They nicknamed the junior B league there the Jungle.
Yeah.
It's basically there's all these small towns outside of Ottawa, and so Roy, I had a good camp with Kanata. I just wasn't ready yet.
Yeah.
I just wasn't ready to play tier 2 with the big guys. We had some players on that team. A few NHLers.
Cool.
I think there was a handful of NHLers from that junior team. Corey Murphy, Kent Huskins, Pat Kavanaugh, Brad Ralph, and those guys all played on that same year. I mean, it was a good hockey team. So I went down and played in junior B, and I still was like, and then I got to Perth, and I mean, you want to talk about a great group of guys. You're 16 years old, and you're playing with men.
Yeah.
I mean, you're playing with up to 21-year-olds, and a lot of Kanata guys were there. So a lot of guys that I knew and we knew through growing up. They were all older than me, so I knew, their older brothers and things like that. So it was great, and we were just a wagon that year. We had 50 wins, 6 losses, 2 ties. We ended up winning the Eastern Ontario Junior B, and then we went on to win whatever was the whole Junior B area. I mean, we were just good.
So you were spoiled,
It was fun.
You were spoiled your first year junior. You were spoiled.
My first 2 years of hockey, I'll get into the next year after. So we go in with the Junior B, but Roy Green never swore.
No way.
Never swore. Yeah, I had a coach who never swore. He was one of the best guys ever.
Funker.
And my partner was a 20-year-old. I had a 20-year-old partner, Chucky Yansuni, who I still talk to this day. It's great. He was my partner, and he would pass me the puck. Let me put it that way. He'd give me the puck, and I'd do the work, and he'd do all the hitting, the fighting. He was that guy. But we got along really well. He wore 21, I wore 27, and we played together almost the whole year.
That's cool.
So to go in as a rookie, playing with an old veteran, and playing well, and being as good as we were, it was just so much fun to go to the rink every day. We had about a 35, 40-minute drive from Kanata to Perth, and I rode with my cousin, who was Adam Duan. He played a little bit in the A. He had a cup of coffee, I think, with Phoenix, in the NHL. And Christian Goulet, who's now a doctor up in the Ottawa area, a concussion doctor, actually.
Oh,
one
no
of the
way.
lead ones in Canada. Yeah.
Cool.
So clearly I was not the talent or the brains in the car ride up. We just loved it. I mean, it was 35, 40 minutes, twice a week up there, and then on the weekends for games, and it was just so much fun.
Yeah.
And you're right, being spoiled to win right away, that kind of gets the juices flowing, like, okay, yeah, I like this, and let's see what the next year's going to bring. And then I went to Kanata. I went back to Kanata, and that year we were even better than the year before, than my junior
really,
year. Like, we were good.
Yeah.
Good group of guys, and we went on a tear in the CHL, which is the tier 2. I think we ended up going 16-1 in the playoffs.
Wow.
Lost one game, so we rolled through that. Then we went to the Big East, which was in Brockville, Ontario. Jason Haas's team.
Yeah.
They were the host. We ran through the Big East, and then takes you out to Summerside PEI for the
Oh, wow.
Royal Bank back then. So we just had an awesome group of guys. I still talk with a couple of the guys today. Bunch of Kanata guys, bunch of guys who have played baseball growing up together and hockey. And yeah, I mean, you want to talk about being spoiled. And then playing for Archie ended up playing him for 3 years, I think, and just one of the best guys.
That's cool.
Just a pure hockey guy. He did swear quite a bit, but he's a legend up in that area, and I was so fortunate to play for him. And it's Roy and Arch were the two guys who kind of pushed me to want to keep playing because I was kind of done.
Yeah, why was that?
On baseball and golf.
Yeah, what happened at 15? Just kind of tired of it?
Yeah, it was just I was starting to be a better golfer. I was a better baseball player. And then my kind of arm just couldn't hack it anymore because we didn't work out back then. We just threw as many baseballs as we could.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't last. I thought I was going to go play college baseball. I mean, probably a good thing I didn't, with the amount of baseball players out there.
Yeah.
And then it was going to be golf. And then I was like, well, I might as well keep playing hockey,
At what level were you playing when you were you playing AAA at 15 and just kind of said, you know what, I think I'm going to pursue
AAA hockey?
Yeah.
No. We played, I think I played mostly B and A growing up. We didn't have a AA team in Canada.
Right. So your closest.
I got cut from the
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. So your closest center would have been Ottawa, right? As far as like a AAA team.
Well, they did. So we did AA was our thing. AAA was summer.
Okay.
And there was no chance in hell I was playing summer hockey. When our last hockey game was done in the winter, that was it for me.
Yeah.
It was now on to baseball and golf. I was not going to play hockey year round.
Yeah.
I didn't even go to hockey camps. I was just like, I need a break from it. And, baseball was fun. I loved playing baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, and then, we started picking up golf and started getting good at that. Hitting at the golf course all day and then go play baseball at night, for the league games and stuff. I didn't have time for hockey. I didn't want to burn myself out. I saw that from, quite a few guys in that area.
Yeah.
By the time they get to 16, 17, they're done. Too much hockey.
So for you, it was more of you had choices, which is like, and this is the one thing we're trying to really preach to young parents, obviously, and kids, and not even necessarily that you have to play crazy organized baseball or soccer or golf or like that, but just go experience other sports, go have fun, go do other things, go, you know what I mean? And I mean, obviously you're an athlete. I know you well. And like, you can play basketball, you can throw 3-point, you know what I mean? Like you're athletic, right? So I think that's really important because we do see a lot of young kids now that come up at like 16, 17 and man, they're 1-2 sports and they can't chew gum and skip at the same time. They're going to trip over, right? Like, so it's one of those things where I think it is important to play other sports. I was the same as you in the summers. I never went to hockey schools. Our bags went in the garage. Like I remember pulling my bag out to go to tryouts and there's mold in my bag. Like, oh man, I got to wash my gear out so I can go to tryouts. You know what I mean? Like it was so different back then, and I think there's a fine line there, but I think, yeah, it's, and for you, it's more having those choices of being able to play other sports, which is really, really cool. And obviously, parents giving you an opportunity to do that, which I think is massive. But then, like you said, kind of having maybe an experience where you're like, maybe I want to pursue another sport. And then just meeting a coach or somebody, a mentor that kind of pulls you back in, right? And kind of gives you that opportunity to kind of get that love back for that game that maybe was drifting a little bit, which is super cool.
Oh yeah. I mean, Roy and Archie are two guys that were, instrumental in keeping me going. So I don't know if they knew this or if they even cared, but those years I would play volleyball, basketball, lacrosse, and baseball for the high school.
Yeah.
As well as playing junior hockey. So there's one time I showed up. I mean, our warm-ups in Kanata, I think the games were at 7:30, so call the warm-up at like 6:45. I would wheel in at like 6:30 from a volleyball game or a basketball game, and I'd be like limping. The boys were like, "What happened?" I'm like, I rolled my ankle. All right, put your boot on. Put your boot on. So you put your boot on, and then you've got a cast with a knife on the bottom of it. But yeah, no, I would play, and I think I was very fortunate. I could pick anything up, and I could be pretty good at it almost right away. So it was one of those things where I was never a one sport. It was kind of like I liked playing with my buddies, and I mean, volleyball was the most fun, just trash talking high school, 15 and 16-year-old kids. Just, you go up, spike one in a guy's face, and it's just like, all you have is a net between the two, and you just jawing at them. This is Catholic high school volleyball in Ottawa. And, the basketball and then lacrosse, and it was just fun to play different stuff. And I think that's what kept me maybe wanting to play more when I got to junior, because I was like, I'm kind of fresh into this again versus like, okay, here we go again.
Yeah.
Another year of hockey.
Yeah.
It was just like, okay, we're back at it. It's September. It's Labor Day. Let's try it. Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. Gotta make sure the skates are sharp.
Yeah. The old hip flexors and groin just feeling great after the first tryout.
God, yeah. How's the ice out there? Pretty soft. You're like, oh God, this is not going to be good.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Now, quick stop here for a second, but we talked about your daughter, and you've got four. No.
Yeah.
Five, man. Okay, so I got to ask you a question about this because I've got 2 children. We got whatever. I would love to have a big family, but I started when I was late, and I'm not getting any younger, so this all worked out good. But was 5 daughters, or not 5 daughters? Were 5 children always in the plans, or was it just like, hey, next one, try to get our boy? Was this anything along those lines, or was it just, hey, we just
never the boy thing. Never the boy thing. We just loved having a big. We started it obviously with 1, 2, 3 was call it the surprise, the unexpected, and we're like, okay, well, we better even it out. So 3 became 4.
Who says
and
that?
Then, well, you just got to keep things even, right? You still had one room left in the car. And then real funny story is, I was actually playing in Fort Wayne, 12, 13 year, and I'm sitting at breakfast with Brett Smith. He played in the minors quite a while too. Really good dude. And we're sitting there, and my phone beeps, and we're on the road, and I look at it, and I'm like, I'm kind of like looking at it, and I put it down. I'm like, okay. And I can look back at it, and he's just like, looks at me, goes, number 5. And I'm like, what? And he goes, number 5? I'm like, how do you know? He goes, your face is absolutely priceless right now. So my wife wrote to me. She goes, I'm on the road. I think I was in Reading. It might have been Reading. And she just wrote, texted, I'm pregnant. Do not call or text for anything for 30 minutes. I'll talk to you in a bit. I was like, okay. So, back to my Hampton Inn waffle here.
Yeah, the continental breakfast.
Man,
and
gotta save the per diem.
Yeah, no doubt, and grab some off Smitty too. Holy smokes, man! Yeah, that's.
So that was number 5, and we actually had an appointment at the Christmas All-Star break to take care of that, but we kind of beat that. So number 5, and I saved the appointment for the summertime after the season.
So there's no number 6 on the way then, eh? You're not going to be that 50-year-old that pops out? No? Okay.
No.
All right, good.
No. $5 is enough. I'm the guy with $5.
So
good with it.
Road trip minivan, obviously. Like, there's no other way to go, right? You gotta.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That a boy. Well, congrats on that one, eh? That's great. That's great.
It's it's great. I'm not a guy who the downtime. We talked about, hey, what's a good time? What's a good time to do this? And I was laughing, and I'm like, hey, Tuesday night. That's what you got. We're doing Tuesday. And, because we're busy, then my kids my oldest is in volleyball. She started travel volleyball in the last couple of years. She loves it. My second oldest is a competitive cheerleader. She's on a couple teams and her school team, so she's busy 4 or 5 times a week. My third is now into competitive dance, so she's into competitive dance this year for the first time. Then my 2 youngest, we're just kind of letting them do their thing. We've got one playing basketball and dancing, and the other's dancing as well. So they're all in something. It's kind of, I don't want to say the rule, but we want them to be in something extracurricular, physical, just seeing what they like.
Yeah.
If they like basketball, great.
Yeah.
If they don't, well, they tried it. Let's go on to the next sport. Let's try soccer this time. So, and the dance has been fun. We've got a really good community of kids sports here. Like, we really have some good stuff here that kids can develop. Great coaching staff, especially where they're all at this year.
Yeah.
They're all just thriving.
That's awesome.
They're thriving just on their own and it's funny, the COVID situation, which is huge everywhere. I know you're in lockdown right now. I'm not.
Yeah. Well, you guys don't really have it,
have?
really, though, do you, in the States? Like, kind of, it's just a myth, isn't it, down there?
I don't. Yeah, it's here.
No, but obviously it's affecting everybody. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. But
yeah, no. So what it's been great, and I think it's been really good for the kids and the coaches, is there's no parents at practice.
yeah.
So how awesome is it when you don't have 20 parents chirping and everything that happens, whispering back and forth? When we were kids, I don't know. I mean, my old man was on the ice at times, but if he wasn't, you get dropped off. And it'd be like, okay, what time's practice? From 6 to 7? Okay, we'll pick you up at 7:30. Just make sure you're out of the room by then. And, you lugged your bag out or your golf clubs or whatever. And I think that's really good for the kids, not to have parents watching them every single day.
I totally agree, man.
You know?
Yeah, and we
it gives them freedom, and I don't want to coach my kids. I can give them advice, and I will give them advice. I'll say, hey, can I give you a hint? If they say no, okay.
Yeah.
They'll say no for a couple minutes at times, especially if they lost the game or something. They'll say, what did you see? I'm like, well, this is what I kind of saw. And they're pretty good. They know that I'm there to help them. I mean, I've seen pretty much every single circumstance you could probably think of, win, lose, refs, whatever you want to call it. I've seen it all.
Yeah.
So I can kind of talk them through it and just say, yeah, you guys are upset at the ref, but that was 1 point out of 74 different points that were played in this game. Remember, 1 point.
Yeah.
What about the other 73? And then they kind of back off and they get it. And I think, I don't want to say they're lucky, but having a dad who grew up in sports, you can kind of, you can relate to them. You know when to say something, when to back off, when to encourage them. I don't really get on them. They're too young. There's nothing really to get on unless they act out of line, which they haven't. I mean, they're kids. So.
Yeah. What's your what's the spread, like oldest to youngest?
We go 13, 12, 10, 8, 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is impressive, Muncie. Wow, your wife is a saint. Yeah. And she has you, so like you're talking 41. Yeah, okay. I get it now.
41 through 7, yeah. No, she's doing really well too. She we can get into her as we talk about the pro career, but
because
it's been.
Yeah,
we'll go to college first.
Yeah, well, real quick. Yeah, we'll kind of not quickly go through it, but I mean, at what age did you actually say, like, yeah, you know what, man, I could do something with hockey as far as even getting a scholarship? Like, when were you starting to get looks at, or when were you starting to get kind of, schools approaching you and schools talking to you and stuff like that?
Well, we had a good area for us. We had a lot of ECAC teams. That was the big recruit for us, was all the ECAC, the smart schools, the baby Ivy League schools. So, but. Brian Kilray came over to my house, I think when I was 16, and, said they were interested. They were going to draft me, and, thought Alan McCauley was the captain. Do you remember him playing for the Leafs?
Yeah.
He was the captain of the 67s back then. So he, you get a chance to play with Alan McCauley, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not that good yet. I mean, I knew I wasn't going to be a guy who was going to go in and tear the O up. I mean, I was 6'1", 150 pounds, and I planned on going for a golf scholarship then. I mean, I was fully committed to going to play golf, and even when I was playing junior hockey, I was like, I'm still going to probably go golf, because I had some guys from my area who started going down to school to play golf, and it was my buddies, and I'm like, man, what sounds better than going down and playing golf for 4 years at college?
For sure.
It'd be so much fun. Like the training now is different than back then, but and then started. I think it was probably the year after we went to the Nationals. It's kind of when like all the good guys, they all went D1.
Okay.
So now it was our new batch of guys to come and like take the team over, and I think it was that year I did a skating treadmill. I think between that year, and that was the best thing I could have done then. I mean, you go from having like this 6'2", like 160-pound lanky stride to like, okay, you're forced to know how to skate now. And so what those kids have now and the ability to do all that stuff now is awesome for them. But I did that, and it really improved my skating in a hurry. I always had the shot. I could always, pass the puck, but throwing the ability to skate at the age of 18 as a defenseman, it was like, okay, now I can start commanding the game a little bit here.
Yeah.
And started getting some looks. Unfortunately, a lot of them were for the Ivy League schools and the ECAC schools. And my heart was set to go to Colgate. Corey Murphy was a good buddy of mine growing up. We played baseball together, and then he's still the most talented player, the most talented hockey player I've ever shared an ice with is Corey Murphy. I don't know if you know him at all.
No.
He's a 5'8", 5'9" D-man. He played over in Europe for a while. He actually came back and played, I think, a year or two in the NHL when they started getting the small guys.
Yeah.
The small, so you didn't have to be 6'5" anymore. You just had to be good.
Yeah.
And the dude had probably the best patience. There's a guy named Sean Davidson. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. We were playing in Kanata. Murph had the puck in his, so if the net's here, he's a right shot D-man. He had it by the right hash, and he was just holding it. This guy came full speed to forecheck him, and Murph just moves his top hand just a sec, just like.
Yeah.
And the guy peels off and goes the other way. Murph hasn't moved. He's still standing right there. And then everyone on the bench is like, ah!
Yeah.
And he just gets a smile, and he just takes off. And he was, he actually just retired a couple of years ago. He made a living in Europe.
That's awesome, man. Yeah.
I think he still coaches over there. I think in Switzerland, if I'm not mistaken. Switzerland or Sweden, one of the two places. But so he went to Colgate, and he's like, Butsy, you got to come here. This place is the best. It was like 2 hours from home. It was a small liberal arts campus, like, under 3,000 people. I went on a recruiting trip there. It was just like, oh my God, but it's your first recruiting trip, right? So you're just like this. Like,
yeah,
it's the best.
For sure, man. Yeah.
Like, this is the place to go. But it really was. They had a good coaching staff there. And I couldn't get in. My SATs were not good enough. My marks in high school, I was smart enough. I didn't apply myself. I mean, it's the way I look back. I could have easily done it. I just didn't put the work in, which is what my kids get to talk now. Hey, yeah, Dad could have gone to Ivy League. But so that was, so it came down to me and this guy, I think from Finland, they were allowed to have one academic push. We'll get him in. We'll make sure he passes through. Well, they chose the other guy that year. But they wanted me to go back to school. I think it was my 19-year-old year, I think, if not. I was like, I'm not going back to play one more year of juniors.
Right.
I'm not. I mean, it's just 3 years has been enough. I don't want to go another one. And then enter A.J. Baker.
Legend.
Alabama Huntsville. Oh, you want to talk about a guy who just made you feel awesome about a game after when you had a good game? Like, he was that. You talk about a recruiter. A.J. Baker was the essence of a college recruiter for how he could make a kid feel.
Yeah, and for those, for those who don't know A.J. Baker, he recruited me, recruited Butsy to go to Alabama Huntsville. And the one thing
about Ontario guy.
Yeah, the one thing about Alabama Huntsville is, it's kind of a D1B school. It was. It's kind of turned the corner, and they've had a bit of a resurgence there. And even with what happened, if people don't know, I'll really quickly tell it. But right at the beginning of COVID, the University of Alabama Huntsville ended up gassing the program. They shut it down. They said, no, we're not doing it anymore. So all these kids potentially had nowhere to play, all these players and the coaches, staff, the whole nine. It was kind of a bit of a mess. And they gave basically the alumni and the support from the community and Alabama Huntsville and the hockey community rallied together, and they gave us a goal of raising, I think it was $500,000, and some big alumni were going to put in a little bit more to get a budget to at least play one more year. And that ended up working out, got the program reinstated. In a week. It was crazy. And that to me was one of the, I love being a Charger. I love playing at UAH. I really enjoyed my 4 years there. I have some great buddies from there, yourself included. Like, it's awesome. Like, we got together a couple of years ago, a bunch of us. It was amazing, right? But that whole thing that happened when they almost shut the program down really, for me, gave me a new kind of revitalized, like, that whole thing. I got reconnected with a bunch of alumni I hadn't talked to in a while, and we're all kind of rallying together to try to raise money. And it was really, really cool. But going back to A.J. Baker, the thing that made Alabama so good back then wasn't that we had the best coaches, wasn't that we had the best facilities. It was an unbelievable experience, but it was guys like that did, like, worked above and beyond, man. Like, he was just a guy who, like you said, like, you could tell he just crushed McDonald's, and he probably, combed his hair with the napkin of it, like but he was just like the best, like like you said, you could have played an okay game. And he's like, man, you look so good, and this raspy voice, and just love the boys, would do anything for the guys, and just an unbelievable, really really good guy for sure.
And you had the phone calls. I mean, you got to remember, there's no cell phones back then, so you had college coaches calling your house phone, and he'd just get on the phone and just be A.J. Baker. And you just, immediately get a smile on your face. And, I was going to go, there was a couple Division III schools where I was going to double up and play golf and hockey. Colgate was always going to be the plan. I was going to play golf and then be able to play hockey and walk on the golf team. That's kind of what my hope and plan was. When those things started falling through, it was like, I don't want to come back for another year. Like, I'm ready to go. And here lies this school in Alabama. You're a kid from Ottawa. Where? Yeah, in the South? Okay. Yeah. And then you find out that that year we had Jason Hahn, who I lived with for 3 years, who's, still one of my favorite guys. Talk to him, at least once a week still, text message, just, something stupid on Instagram. You find him about golf and, good conversations there. We had Darren Curry, still a good buddy of mine, Mark Byrne, Kevin Ridgway. We had 5 guys from our league.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
And, 3 guys from the P, and that was Curry, Ridgie, and Bernie. And then Hauser was in Brockville, and I was in Kanata. It was kind of like, hey, you talk to this guy? Like, yeah, I think I'm kind of going.
Is this guy legit?
Okay.
Is this guy legit?
Yeah. So the legit was on a recruiting trip. I went down there, and I think everybody is pretty much left, I think, already for school. It was kind of a late recruiting trip, and I was a late signee there. And I remember he picked me up in the airport. Is it a Camaro or Trans Am?
No, it was a Camaro T-top, bro. T-top. Oh, yeah.
T-top, blue Camaro. And he picks me up, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be sweet. So, went for a recruiting trip, did the old, hey, you want to go golfing? You guys want to go golfing? Hey, Butsy, can you call the course first and set a tee time up? Yeah, you know where this is going. They give you the head coach's phone number. So I'm like, hey, I'd like to book a tee. He didn't say anything about a golf course. Hey, can the guys put in golf? Who is this? Tyler Butler? Yeah, this is Coach Ross. And the boys are just laughing. I don't even know these guys. And they're already putting me up to this. And, so I went down with the expectation that we were turning into a D1 school. That was my freshman year. We turned D1 after you guys were D2 the year before, correct?
Yeah.
Just won the national championship?
Yeah.
Or you guys won that year, right?
Yeah, so I was the same as you. I was the year before you, but I basically same thing. I was going down there with the expectations of us going to D1, which it did happen, which was awesome. But that's kind of why I committed there. So my first year there, I was D2, and then the second year we were D1. Yeah. Yeah,
and we going down as a D1 school. You still don't know what you're getting into. I was like, you know what? This is going to be fun. Let's see what the hockey is about. And serious eye opener that I had to be in shape. Because my year before, the summer before, I was like, okay, I got to be a college hockey player. Better start working out. And because our guys, we just didn't work out in our league.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like the guys out west who finished high school at grade 12. We still had grade 13 in Ontario back in the day. There's a whole extra year, and it just wasn't, we played other sports. We didn't go to the gym.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I better start lifting. Well, I lifted, but I forgot to run, and I forgot to bike. And, part of our captain's practice, I felt good on the ice, and it was like, okay, let's go run the loop. I'm like, what's this loop everyone's talking about? And was it a mile and a half?
Yeah,
2
roughly,
miles?
yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I could barely make it around the loop. Me and Tommy Lewis. Is it Tom Lewis? No, who's is it Tommy Lewis?
No.
Little blonde guy.
William, or
left shot.
Was it Willie? Was it Tom, from
Tommy
Windsor?
Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he didn't like running.
Oh my God. Yeah. We'd both be like barely running.
Yeah.
And he's like, I didn't come here to play. I didn't come here to run track. Of course, I'm like, yeah, me neither, man. He's a senior. I'm like, yeah, what is this bullshit? And it's called getting in shape and being ready. And I wasn't. But I also got to, which I I got to play almost right away, which for a freshman under Doug Ross was not common.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I got to play with Mark Lalonde, who I think was a senior at that year.
Yep.
So getting paired with a senior defenseman, and Chief was like, all right, let's do this. And we worked well together on the power play. You know, he'd set me up for one-timers, and I was firing the puck. And I think what drove me crazy was I wanted to play every game. I was there to play hockey, and I thought I deserved to be in the lineup every night. And when you start getting in college and you start inserting different guys, because some of these guys haven't played yet.
Yeah.
I understand it now, but at the time I'm like, I don't want to sit just because so-and-so needs to play. I mean, I'm here to play hockey, not watch. And so that kind of sucked. I think I only sat a few games that year, but still I didn't like sitting.
It's hard though, right? Because you go from junior, and you were like a point guy, a power play guy, a big point guy in junior hockey, and you get to college, and I was the same at that point. You know, you get to college, you think I'm going to come in, I'm going to play. I didn't play a lot my first year at all, and it is hard, man. That was like the worst year of hockey for me ever. But it's that transition. Now I look back on it, I'm like, yeah, it wasn't that good. Like I probably maybe could have played maybe a little bit more, but at the same time, there's loyalty to seniors who put in their time. They've been there for 4 years,
Yep.
and there's a lot of that goes on too. And I get it now, and at the time I didn't get it. Kind of like you, I was like frustrated, pissed off. I wanted to play more. Felt I was better than I was, and it's funny because then you look back on it as an older person, you're like, man, you know what? I kind of get it. You know, I kind of get it.
Well, you actually, I don't know if you remember this, but one of the first ones I said, I don't think you napped when you played college hockey.
No,
like
I wasn't a big napper.
An absolute.
No.
Yeah, I still don't understand that idea, but it was one of the nights I was not playing. It was one of the first nights I wasn't playing, and you had a talk with me outside my dorm room. Actually, I grabbed a wedge, and I grabbed like 12 golf balls. And when these guys were napping, I just went and hit golf balls for a couple hours. We had a talk. You're like, hey, listen, it's going to happen. And you probably don't remember this, but we were up. It was the third floor of Southeast, out by my door with me and Osher. You're like, hey, just deal with it, man. You'll be fine. You know, when you get back in the lineup, you gotta play. And like I said, I don't think I sat a ton of games. I was one of the fortunate freshmen.
Yeah.
And I think connecting with Chief right away and playing with him right away, you know, it kind of was like, hey, I want to play with him. You know, this is the guy, Chief, who you want to play with? I want to play with him.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a huge thing, right? Because you've already gained a little bit of confidence. Because a senior wants to play, he's choosing you to play with, and here we are, and we played well together. So
it's part of fitting in too, though.
Good.
But see, like when you get to a spot like that as a freshman, even a rookie and junior, or you get into a freshman, because whenever you get into different age groups, like in junior, you're going to be with the 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, maybe 21-year-old, and in college, you're going to be probably that 18 to 23, 24 gap. It's fitting in as well, and kind of knowing how to fit in. You know, you can't come in too hot, you know, unless you're a stud. You know what I mean? You got to kind of like, you got to really navigate it so that you can get a guy like, you know, like Mark to like you. You know what I mean? Or whoever, right? Because you come in the wrong way and you upset, they're not even upset. You just piss a couple guys off or rub a couple guys the wrong way. That's a rough ride, man, that first year. Like, that's a rough ride.
And we've seen it. I mean, we've both seen it. We've seen the guys who come into school and you're just like, who is this guy? And by Christmas time, his bag's passing, he's going home.
Totally.
I can't work with you guys.
Yeah, it's so true.
But it's fine. We'll see you later. We'll just deal with the next guy up who we like and who works hard.
Yeah.
And yeah, you get these guys coming in and it's just like, okay, bud, calm down. Like, congratulations, you were great in junior. Okay, let's see how you do in practice this afternoon. And unfortunately, he'd probably get ran because that's how we policed the ice back then. And,
yeah, totally.
You know, might have to fight. Even though there was no fighting in college, you might have to drop them just to kind of show who you were. And you kind of pick guys out that way.
Well, for anybody who doesn't know kind of college hockey, the first, you get to campus, I should say, and then you start, you know, classes or whatever. And then usually you can't start the season, you know, usually till October. So you still don't start practicing with your coaches till middle of September. So you have like 3, 4, 5 weeks sometimes of just captain's practice and workouts and stuff that coaches can be around for workouts a bit, but they can't be around the ice. So then you're basically, you know, your captains are running or your leadership group's running those skates. So you're running some drills and then you get into scrimmages. And I remember like, then you're going, you know, shoulder pads, a little bit of contact, then you're going full contact. And I mean, I got into fights with Ryan McCormick, like my roommate Mucker. I stood in his wedding, like, and I got like him and I were like lived together, legit, and just got heated on the ice. We were both the same class. I think we were sophomores or juniors, and he was pissing me off. I was pissing him off, and we ended up kind of scuffling a little bit. And it's all done there. But you're right. You kind of self-police it a little bit. And when you have those young players that do come in a little bit, it's like anything. It's like going to work. Like you start a new job somewhere. You gotta navigate a little bit, and get to know the people a little bit, get to know who.
Hey, what's he making?
Yeah.
What's he making? I want to make sure. Well, he's been there for 12 years. Calm down. You can't make what he's making.
Exactly.
You just literally punched your ticket. Relax. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
You got to earn it.
Yeah. Give me his office.
We had Keith Rowe came in as a freshman. You know Rosie well enough. I mean, he's Mr. Hockey Michigan. One of those guys. And I'll never forget. He came in, and we're practicing. I'm pretty sure it was coaches on the ice then, but he comes in. He snaps one off my ankle. Like a one-on-one drill, and he snaps one off my ankle. So I give him a whack. And then he comes down, and he hit me so hard with a slash over my, when you get the forearm one, and you get, so I slashed him across the side of the neck. And then
wow.
Then I went.
You escalated.
We went real high, but I was like, these guys got to learn quickly. And we still laugh about it, to this day. I'm like, what are you shooting at? I think I was a junior, and at that point, the head was starting to swell a little bit because you're better than these freshman kids, these freshman pukes, and all this stuff. And he was coming down and wheeling off my ankle, but and again, it's just the competition for college hockey week in and week out.
It's crazy
at practice it's intense.
Yeah,
because you don't want to be the guy that's not the lineup, and if a coach takes a snapshot of you that week and he just happens to see you goofing off or not giving it your all or not basically hitting a guy, that could be your chance to not be in the lineup. So, I mean, this practices are legit. And then by the time you get amped for Friday and Saturday nights, I mean, there's nothing better than Friday and Saturday nights in college hockey.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
I mean, going on the road and, hostile environments and, it's still so glad I went and played college hockey versus the O.
Yeah.
I knew I wasn't going to play in the O. I wasn't going to be anybody special. So, why not go play college where I'm going to have a 4-year experience and not have to worry about, did I have a great time all 4 years? No, I had some, there's some differences with some guys throughout the way, but you're a big family. You got to get over it. And, there's some guys that, you're just like, oh, okay, I don't agree with this, but what do you do? Coach's decision. Yeah. I didn't like it then. But looking back, I still may not like it now, but it's the coach's decision in the end. So you got to kind of roll with it.
No, totally. And you think about it too, like when you went into college at whatever height, whatever weight you were, and when you come out 4 years later, if you put some time into it, you put some, you worked out, you got on a bit of a better schedule as far as working out, things like that. I mean, that, for you, that kind of set you, I don't, for me it did, but that set me up to play pro after. And I think for you as well, that kind of set you up to be way better defenseman, number one. And, by your third, fourth year, you're playing a ton of minutes. You were that guy again. You were that leader. You were that, power play guy. You were the guy getting points again and kind of, back to that offensive defenseman. And then at junior, senior year, were you kind of thinking, man, I think I'm going to go try to plplay somewhere. Like, I think I'm going to try to push here a little bit and try to go on and kind of play some pro after this.
Yeah, my junior year for me. So here's where I lucked out huge. And this is a really big part of what my success was. My two partners basically throughout 4 years of college. I had Chief as my first year. So I had a senior as my first year. And then I had Ryan Lisa for basically my sophomore, my junior, and my senior year. So imagine having the luxury to play with a smooth skating guy who wanted to give me the puck in the offensive zone. Like my junior year, I had a point a game as a D-man in college is it's pretty good. And obviously you're scoring some goals. The power play was
as a forward, that's good, man. Right. So
and as a D-man, it was just a year, and and having, you almost wish that me and Lise could have played pro together. Yeah. Because it would have been like, let us play together. We knew what each other was doing. A reverse, as I found out when I moved into pro hockey, is we didn't talk a lot. We just kind of read each other. So the reverse, I'd kind of see him out of the corner of my eye, I'd just bank it off the back, and then he'd just start skating. in pro, it's like, hey, you better yell at the guy reverse, or he doesn't know you're there.
Right.
So to have a guy who I played with for almost 3 years, we were road roommates. I mean, he become one of my better friends. We were good together.
Yeah.
And it was so easy to play with him because when you have a guy who can, I mean, the kid can skate. I don't know if you remember how good the skater
he's unreal,
was. He
man.
just had that long, smooth stride, and he was a good passer. And I don't think he liked to shoot it a ton, and I did.
Because he had a muffin.
That made it a pretty good
He had a muffin.
He was a hell of a passer, though.
He's a good dish.
He was a hell of a passer.
He played men's league with us here. He played for a couple years with us. It was awesome. It was great, man. It was and same way, like
such a good kid. He was such a good kid too, and he just had a great attitude. And once, because he didn't play at all his freshman year,
right?
Like I don't think he played very much at all. I don't have stats of how many games he played, but I don't, it was one of those things where when we started clicking together, it was just like, okay, all right, now we can start doing this. And yeah, my junior year was great, and I put in the work the summers before my sophomore and junior year of like, it was running, training, lifting, because we had all these guys from Ottawa. Some of them were playing in the O, some of them were playing in the A NHL camps back then. So we were skating once a week together all through the summer. Nothing crazy, but just once a week, just on Mondays. And we had our group of guys. We worked hard, and we had a lot of fun on the weekends too. Like it was just like all these guys would meet up and like cottages or downtown Ottawa. It was just, we had a really good group of guys in Ottawa that you kind of grew with, and everyone kind of went their own different ways. And you were kind of happy to see guys, make the NHL, signing bonuses, all this stuff. And meanwhile, you're like, oh yeah, going back to school again next year, And so after my junior year, I was like, okay, am I going to play in the NHL? Probably not. But when you're putting up a point a game, you're like, okay, well, let's see what I can do my senior year. Didn't have as successful as the year. I mean, you look at scheduling wise. My junior year, we started off against Bentley.
Right.
I had 4 points opening night. I had a goal and 3 apples opening night. It's like, okay, that gives you a little bit of cushion right away, right?
Yeah.
My senior year, we started off against Minnesota, Denver, and Wisconsin, all on the road.
Wow.
And I think we had a combined maybe 5 goals or 6 goals in 6 games.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
So you start out, your numbers aren't there, and it's just you start pressing then because unfortunately you're looking at them.
Yeah.
And when you're 0-6 and you got no numbers, and it's just like, oh my God, what did we do? Like, why did we schedule this guy? I mean, we're not that good, right?
Yeah.
And so that kind of, but I think I ended off pretty well. And then once you get the call, so we went to Kearney, Nebraska, I think was hosting the CHA finals, because why wouldn't they, right? In the middle of Nebraska is where we're going to host a conference final with no one around.
Great town. And
we lost my senior year, I think in the semis, if I'm not mistaken, on like an overtime goal. And it was just like 4 years, and it's just like,
I know, that is the worst, man. Yeah, gone.
And you're like, I look over at Hazy, and Hazy's an emotional guy. I'm like, he's got tears, and all of a sudden you look around and I guess I forgot to say, I think I had 11 freshmen my year.
Yeah, you guys had
11
a huge
of us
class.
in.
I know.
Huge class.
Yeah.
We were pretty tight for the most part. I think 90% of us were tight, doing stuff all the time together. Quiznos on Sundays, and obviously partying on Saturday and whatever we could. But we just had a good group, and we got along. And all of a sudden it's gone. It's just gone. I was actually watching Friday Night Lights. I was with my daughter in Indy. And she was out with some friends running around the hotel. I watched Friday Night Lights, in that movie where they get down to the 1 yard line, and then they're all looking at each other, and it's over.
Yeah.
And so for 4 years, it's done with an overtime goal that you shouldn't. And we were favored. And I think that was the first year they were actually getting teams to go to.
Yeah.
We got a bid
into the tournament. Yeah.
So hey, this is our chance to be seen, and then all of a sudden, we're done. Okay. So now what? Go back dorm room. Then you get some voicemails on the dorm phone, because you didn't have cell phones back then. So you're going through and clicking, and Darren Curry, you played with him.
Yeah.
He played in Amarillo. There's a couple teams that had called and asked if they wanted to go finish the playoff run with them. And I'm like, you know what? I got no money right now. Spring break's coming up. I still have no money. They're going to pay me to come play hockey for however long. Yeah, sure. So me and Carlos, assistant coach now back in Huntsville, we went out to Amarillo. Actually, we went up to Indy first because they were playing. It was 2-2-1, I think, is what the playoffs were. So Ryan actually at least went to Indy.
Okay.
And Igor and I, Carlos and I went up to Amarillo, but we drove up there together. And I was in the lineup right away. I can't remember if Igor played right away or not, or what. He ended up getting sick when we went back to Amarillo, like he came down with the flu or something. But he didn't play. But I played right away in the lineup, and I think I scored my third game at home, just getting pelted with about 5,000 foam bananas in the middle of the Amarillo Civic Center. I was like, man, this is fun.
Yeah.
It's that burst again, right? And it's fun again, and you're getting paid.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do I want to do next year? Well, we want you to come back next year. Okay, cool. I had a couple other chances to go East Coast, and you're coming out. You're 23 years old. Back then, as you know, early 2000s, you're not 18, 19, 6'5", 6'3", 6'5" D-man. I mean, I'm 6'2", don't get me wrong. I'm not small by any means, but I didn't fit that mold back then.
No, it was a big game, man, for sure. Even for forwards, like it was the clutching, grabbing pants. It was a totally different game than what it is now, as far as just being able to wheel, being able to move. It's a lot of clogging, a lot of remember holding guys up on the back check, literally just going skiing through the neutral zone, just hook your stick around his waist and no call. Like you can hook guys. It was such a different game.
Oh, if the guy dumped it in on you and your partner's going back, it would just be like take him right into the boards. You're pinning him, and you look at your partner's good now. Okay, I'll let him go.
So different, yeah.
And the guy, and you can now you even give a jab, and it's like, okay, you're gone interfering. So I had some opportunities. I think I had an AHL camp. You go into the AHL camp knowing you're not going to make it. You're basically just going for a camp, just in case maybe somebody will see you. Derek Hahn, who I played with in Amarillo, again, he finally went over to Europe and played really well over there. Ended up in the DEL, but probably one of the most talented guys at that camp in Utah is where we were at, and we're just sent back.
Yeah,
I mean, it is what it is. We go back to our CHL days, and the CHL for me was like, okay, I don't want to get traded 12 times a year.
Yeah.
I want to go, I want to play, and I just want to have fun for a year or two, and played 2 years in Amarillo. My first year there, I actually met my wife, Holly. And
is she from Amarillo?
So she's from Amarillo,
okay.
Yeah. So I was going out, one of the guys was like, hey, my girlfriend having a going away party for some other work. Will you come with me? I'm like, okay, sure. He was my, yeah, okay, I'll go. And it didn't matter. It was okay, let's go.
Yeah.
And first time I seen her, I'm like, okay, absolutely stunning. And I'm like, so I got up the nerve. No cell phones back then still.
Yeah.
Couldn't be like, hey, message. It was like,
you have to work.
I got to do this. I got to go talk to him.
Yeah, put the work boots on, bud.
So ended up, long story short, a couple days later.
5 kids. 5 kids now.
5 kids, yeah. 5 kids. So that we went back to Amarillo that next year just because I liked the guys there in the team, and it was fun, and we had a good team. We made the conference finals both years. We had a good team. It was fun to play there. Good atmosphere. The rink was tiny. So for me, it was like a shooter's heaven. Yeah. I could just go in there and just rip one tees from what felt like the blue line is barely the top of the circles at some rink.
Right.
So it was fun, and we kind of knew how to play in that barn, right? And when it would be packed for playoffs, it was just electric.
Yeah, that's cool.
And we ran into the Laredo Buzzsaw a couple years in a row. And I was like, okay. I'm like, Holly, what do we want to do? She's like, hey, can we look somewhere else? Can we get out of Amarillo and just see what the rest of the world is? So ended up calling Killer Kaminsky in Missouri for the River Otters back then. And I was like, hey, look, I'm looking to play. And so he signed me there. And I was just actually talking to another guy, Damian Surma. I don't know if you know Surms at all.
Where's
he
he
was
from?
there with me. He's from Michigan, Detroit.
Okay.
And again, good dude. And we went there, and I talked about earlier the summers you put work in and the summers you didn't. Well, that summer before, between Amarillo and St. Louis, Holly and I got engaged. And it was just like, you had to celebrate. Every weekend was a celebrate.
Yeah.
You got to celebrate. You got to celebrate.
Didn't put the work
in. And, no, none. And easily one of my probably most disappointing years. We were not good to start with. And the team, they knew about halfway through the year that we were folding.
Oh, that sucks, man.
So you want to talk about all the expenses that just go right down the drain, fighting to get a stick. And, that was the end of it. We just weren't good at the start. I felt bad for Killer because he got let go. And I think it was the first time I'd been in a pro rank where the coach got let go. And, there was a lot of guys who had gone there to play for him. I didn't know him that well. Certainly loved playing for him. I don't know if you know Killer Kaminsky or have met him at all.
No, I haven't. No.
Oh my God, he's just one of the best guys.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you YouTube him, you can see what kind of style he was. He was like, 5'8", 5'9", he could fight anybody.
Right.
And hence the name.
Yeah.
But he had, you get a coach who played in the NHL with an NHL mind. You better try and keep up. And, we weren't good. And so that kind of sucked. You go there expecting big things. And it was the first year I was like, shit, like losing in pro hockey is not fun. Winning in juniors is fun. Winning in, making to the conference finals. We didn't win, but they were successful years. They were fun, but this is my first losing year. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about trying to get jobs next year. What happened to your numbers here? Your numbers were terrible. And it's just like, okay, so I actually signed on with a team in Germany. I went over to the third league in Germany.
Now, but so when you were doing all this, did you have an agent kind of helping you out with this, or were you doing this all on your own, just calling buddies, calling people?
Cold call.
Yeah.
Calling coaches and calling. Actually, I was working at a golf course. The golf course I grew up at growing up. There was a member there. I don't know how this guy knew this guy. He's like, hey, I got a guy over in Germany.
No way.
I'm like, okay. Put a shout out for me there. And so next thing you know, I'm talking to this guy in Hanover, Germany. Hanover was one of the more Americanized cities in that third division league. They had a lot of money. So they had all the better Germans. And in Portugal, you're having 5, but they had better Germans, right? That's what's going to win you, make it successful. And the rink sat like 2,000 people, I think. And we had about 3,000 people every game.
Oh, that's sick. Sparklers
and it was so fun.
So pretty cool experience then, eh?
Great experience.
Yeah, that's cool.
And we went over there. Holly traveled a little bit, like went to Berlin, Paris, stuff like that. But there was a mandatory week off for the national holiday. So we took off to Spain for a week just to kind of get away from everything. But the hockey was cool. My biggest regret is not staying over there.
Yeah.
Because I think I could have done a lot. I think I had a lot more success over there. Kind of one thing I always wondered, what league would I ended up in? Because you have to start low there, and then you work your way up.
Yeah.
And would I play in the DEL? I have no idea. Would I have made a play in a different country? With opportunities in different leagues. That would have been the one thing. But we were. That's when the Butsy girl train started was in Germany. We became pregnant with number 1. So we wanted to have her back in the U.S. And I started back over here. Had a couple years in Denver with the Rocky Mountain Rage. Had some one team. I think we would still have the highest amount of points ever to not make the playoffs. It was just that league was that good that year.
That's cool.
Next year I got hurt for the first time. First time I missed a game was I think my 6th year. I'd never missed a game from injury. and I blew my shoulder out. So that sucked, and that was like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
And that team folded. So the fun of minor pro hockey is, is the team going to make it every year?
Totally.
So I've been on 2 teams that have folded. Out of nowhere, this guy folds, and it's just one of those kind of nightmare minor league stories where you're owed some money and sorry, we're done. And which kind of sucked. I'm sitting there with a bum shoulder. I end up getting picked up. I signed in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the CHL, and just wasn't a good fit. I brought like 5 or 6 guys from Rocky Mountain. I brought my guys with me, and one of them ended up getting cut, and he was my partner for the whole year before. So I'm bringing my defensive partner with me. Well, he gets cut, and it's like, all right, now I'm a player coach or a player assistant, and obviously not seeing eye to eye with the head coach at the time, and it kind of felt that way all year. Unfortunately, it's nothing against the coach; he didn't do anything wrong. We just both had different visions of what was going to happen, and that kind of sucked. And we didn't make the playoffs that year, which is never fun. Arizona, a couple years after that.
How sick was Arizona?
How
was it there with like weather and stuff like that? Was it a pretty good area?
Yeah, we're in a small mountain town about an hour and 20 minutes north of Phoenix. So it wasn't stifling hot in the summer times. I actually stayed there for 2 years all the way around.
Oh,
it was
cool.
great. Marco Pietranero was the coach there. First year, pretty good year. First year, kind of overachieved a little bit. I mean, we were a good team, but we started playing well. We had a good group of guys, and we liked playing with each other. Second year underachieved. We got let go. Second time I'd seen a coach get let go. This guy was a little bit more personal. He had 5 boys.
What?
He had 5 boys, and they were all in hockey. And,
what's wrong with you guys?
I'd say it's the Italian in me, but I'm not Italian.
Okay, wait. At this point, though, so you're 8 years in now, 9 years in roughly. How many little ones you got kicking around now in Arizona?
There was 3.
Wow. Okay, now what's like being a pro? Like, go from college, no kids, couple years of pro, no kids, which is amazing. Travel, do whatever you want, go for dinner, do whatever you want. Now you got 3 kids. Like, how different is that experience playing pro with 3 little ones? There's probably no like practice, lunch for 4 hours, golf, and then come home.
Well, unfortunately, I'd say unfortunately, you don't smarten up till later. I would
till
golf
number 5.
every now and again. Yeah, I would golf every now and again. Probably way more than I should have. But Holly's support system was tremendous. I mean, to go on the road, and Arizona, our road trips were not close. Mm-hmm. So there was one time I think we were on the road for 23 or 24 days.
No way.
Yep. We went all the way out here into this is when Dayton and Fort Wayne and all these teams had Central League teams.
Yeah.
So we'd be out there, and she's back at home on her own doing her thing, and she did great.
Did you have any?
Did you
have any phone calls where you're just like, sorry, honey, gotta go, got a team meeting? It's like, oh my god, I'm just gonna kill me.
Yeah, it's just like you're having these phone, like you're out and you're having dinner again at like another restaurant. She's just like, she's just in an absolute grind of life.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can say.
Yeah.
You just listen.
Yeah.
And, looking back, it was great because when you think about it, you get up early, you practice from 10 to 11, get out of the rink around noon, then you're home.
Yeah.
When you're home, you're home.
Yeah.
Right? So that's great. You're home at noon. And, looking back, obviously, you would have liked to do. You had so much downtime. That's what I told Holly one time. I'm like, why would I not just become like a volunteer firefighter or something, or learn something, or because you didn't have to.
Yeah.
It was kind of the pro lifestyle, if you want to call it. It's just fun. And
totally, yeah.
We delayed the real world for 11 years. It's still here. It was still here waiting for me when I was done playing hockey. But for 11 years, you're kind of going and playing and seeing different cities, and I always loved playing the game, though. That's why I played as long as I did. It had nothing to do with – I just loved playing. And you just had a good group of guys to play with for the most part every year. Obviously, pro is different because you don't always like everybody you work with. But guess what? When you work, you get along.
Yeah.
And you have their back. And yeah, so I was fortunate. I mean, one injury in 11 years to miss, that many games.
That's awesome, man.
Coming to play here in Fort Wayne was the first time I played in the Fort Wayne had just switched to the East Coast Hockey League. And at 32, I'm decided I'm going to go play in the Coast. And, I was actually going to go with Gary Graham. Yeah, Gary Graham was the assistant coach in Fort Wayne. He picked a job in Pensacola. And it kind of, things went south in a hurry in Arizona. They had new management. I clearly wasn't in their plan. And so it was like, okay, now I got to find a place to play. And, there's a vet rule. And so that rule is basically anybody who's played over 240 or 250 games, they only limit 4 or 5 to a team. So they want young teams with guys not making, so they can afford to pay them, basically.
Yeah.
And when those spots are taken up, you're screwed.
Yeah.
And so I was going to go down and play in the SPHL for a bit, just to get my feet in. And he's like, you can't come down here, man. Let me call this guy in Fort Wayne. We'll get you set up there. And came here, and the Comet faithful here are, what a group of people.
Yeah,
they
crazy,
would near sell out almost every game. It's like, you're playing in this rink, opening night, 10,000 people. You're like, oh my God, everyone's in orange and black and toast of the town. But they're used to winning. They're used to winning. They played in the United League and the Colonial League. They were winning all those championships all those years. Now we're in the East Coast League, and we're spinning all these players through our system. I think it felt like we went through like 90 players in a year.
It's crazy, man.
Players coming down, coming down, moving. And, it kind of sucked because the year I came here, we didn't make the playoffs. I played every game, played pretty well, but it was, you're 32 playing against all these, 21, 22-year-olds. But, I held my own, played every game, and, you make some good relationships off the ice, which is why we're back here.
Yeah, that's cool.
Made some friendships, and we decided where we wanted to live. I went up to, after here, I went up to Saskatchewan, Rosetown, Saskatchewan.
No way.
So an hour and a half east of Saskatoon, and they had a Allen Cup team up there.
Yeah.
So we had like 3 or 4 pro guys working at this dealership, and this general manager of the dealership, he's like, I was playing in Brampton and I was done. It was emotionally just being away from the kids and Holly it was too much.
What were you doing then in Brampton? Were you living up that way or traveling a little bit back and forth or?
Yeah. I'd have an apartment up there and I'd travel back on the off days, and it's, how the world go round. My defense partner my rookie year, Mark DeSantis, was now the head coach in Brampton, and they had some D-men who were hurt, and that summer was the first time that I had trouble signing. I had signed with a team, and normally throughout the summer they release the player signings for the minor pro teams, right? They're like, hey, and Tyler Butler signing this year, veteran defense.
Right.
But this team never. I signed I was playing there. I signed them, and it's going on, and they're not releasing my signing. And my old man, he's like, "Hey, what's going? Are they going to announce your signing soon here?" Or what? I'm like, "Oh, is he starting to worry about it too?" Like,
no.
I'm 30, turning 33. I've got 5 kids.
Truckload, yeah.
Not asking for a lot. The money. I'm not asking for a lot of money. Yeah, you have to put me in. We'll make it work. Just give me a place to play for one more year. I knew it was going to be the last year.
Yeah.
And then, talk about vet spots being taken in about August or September, like late August, early September. Camp's about to start. And we decided to go in a different direction. I was like,
that sucks, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, well, that's the first time. I don't want to say the first time adversity has come my way in hockey, but that's the first time that I was like, Okay, now where am I going to play?
Well,
I've never had a problem playing anywhere.
And it's a little bit different too when you've got a family, man. And that's like, I know it's not like you're not making millions or you know what I mean, but you're still making money. It's still a paycheck. It's still probably a place to live. It's
Yep.
still a lot of different things for your family too. And to have it kind of get yanked, a couple weeks out from the season starting or camp starting, like it's a little bit different than your first year pro and you're a single guy wheeling around like, yeah, whatever, I'll jump on another team, no big deal, right? But now
grab the golf, put the golf bag in the back of the trunk. Like, where am I going now?
Yeah, because
it doesn't happen when you have kids.
Well, no, and like you're not renting just a U-Haul, you're renting like a transport truck to move your whole family around, so that costs some money too,
26 footer. Yeah, 26 footer. So I was just like, oh my god, what am I going to do now? And so actually, I was working in Fort Wayne. I was teaching golf, and when Holly and I'm like, I had no closure. I had no closure to the game, none. It got taken away from me, and everybody wants the perfect see you later.
Yeah, sure.
Few guys get it. Very few guys get it. Either the game has passed you by, or something happens and it just doesn't work out. And I was like, man, this is just not how I want to end. I'm a good guy. It just, what happened here? And so Desi calls me. He's like, hey, I just need a guy to fill in. We'll see what happens after that. So ended up, guys just kept getting hurt, and I kept staying there. I was playing okay. I mean, what they needed at the time was a veteran defenseman, and but halfway through the year, I just was like, thinking about my wife and the girls and just what she's going through, and I broke down in Desi's office. He was a friend, right?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
dude, I'm emotionally spent now. He's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I think I'm done. He's like, okay, well, this is the road trip we have coming up. Last game was going back to Arizona.
Yeah.
So that was my last game there was in Arizona, which was, it sucked after, I put 11 years of pro, 4 years of college, 3 or 4 years of junior. I mean, it's a lifetime in that, right?
For
and
sure.
all the memories, and all of a sudden it's just gone. It sucked. It was pretty emotional, obviously, when I was done. But then it was on to like, okay, now what? And going back to that dealership, this general manager of this dealership wanted to host an Allen Cup team that could win it. So I had 3 buddies working at the dealership who I'd either seen or played with. They're like, dude, you got to come up to this. It's unreal up here.
So wait, so at the time you're living in Fort Wayne, done hockey, halfway through the Brampton season, and then you start talking to these guys up in Saskatchewan. They're like, hey, why don't you come up and kind of finish
so
up
I
the
was
year
like,
here?
okay. So I actually didn't go finish the year because I didn't make there in time to play for that Allen Cup team that year.
Yeah.
But I went up for basically to see how it was going to be up there, and it was minus 55 with the wind chill the day I went up there. I'm like, what am I getting? I'm not from here. I was like, how's the weather up there? I'm like, you don't want to know. My dad sends a message. Hey, just so you know, it's the coldest place in North America today. Thanks, Billy. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So we went up there. We lived there for about 18 months and played a little bit of hockey. It never went as we planned because this year you're working.
Yeah.
Full time. And by the way, you guys are playing tonight, and I'm not used to that. And I'm getting fatter because you're not working out. And,
yeah, for sure, man.
The equipment's not fitting the way it should, and neither is the lungs. And we decided to come back to the U.S. and I laid a map of the U.S. out to Holly. I was like, we've been everywhere. Let's pick a place to live. And she's like, I want to go back here. So we came back here, and it's been great. I mean, it's been awesome raising the kids here, and it's just a big enough city near some major cities, Indy, Chicago, Columbus. It's all kind of around us. But yeah, so it's now the kids' turn. I'm not playing men's league. I have no interest in playing men's league. I don't want to coach hockey. I had a couple opportunities to go coach, but it's not my kids. You're taking time away from my kids now for someone else's kids. I don't want that.
Yeah, for
they
sure.
need my attention now, and which has been great. So yeah, it's been fun, and the run was great. Though I mean,
it's awesome, man.
You didn't play hockey that long because the real world's here. It's waiting. I found it.
Yeah. But man, playing we have a lot of young guys that come through that are, man, I think I don't know if I'm gonna go back. I don't know if I should play again. What do you think? Should I play another year? And like, man, play as long as you can. Like, getting a job at a dealership or at a bank is great, and you might be able to make good money down the road. But if you're making, whatever it is, let's call it 10, 15, 20, 30 grand to get to travel around. You don't have any kids yet. Like, go enjoy life. Cause like you said, the real world's always going to be there. You can always buy a
Yeah.
house and get a mortgage and have a job. Like, if you're a hard worker, and most of these guys are, I'm like, go play the game, man. Go have fun. Go enjoy it. Like, if you still like it and you still are passionate about it and you enjoy practicing, you enjoy playing, go have fun, man. Because your window is small, right? Your window's from that 18, 17, 18, 19 to 30, 35, maybe if you can push it far, you know what I mean? Maybe 40 if you're,
Yeah.
extremely in shape. You see some guys in the NHL, but so yeah, I think I love it, man. I think it's great. Now, Holly must have been just like, she must love traveling because like when you guys decide to move out to Saskatchewan, you're not just like moving out to Saskatchewan, the two of you. You're traveling with, your whole family. You're relocating, and we probably don't know a lot of people there, like a couple people here and there, but she must like, because that's huge, man. Like having a partner that kind of gets you, and kind of doesn't mind kind of exploring with you a little bit.
Yeah, I think the hardest year was the Brampton year because it's like for me, it's like, hey, I need closure. I need closure. This is not how I want to end it. She's like, okay, well, get over it.
Yeah, it's hard
hey,
though, right?
So
it's
you
hard.
didn't
Yeah,
make it.
yeah,
Oh, and that's where we look back and again, she let me. In the end, she let me go play in Brampton for. I think I played, I don't know what it was, 28, 30 games is what I thought. First game there, I go to Denver, and I break my hand the first game in the fight. And so I'm like, okay, well, now I've broken my hand, so I'm home for a few more weeks,
yeah.
waiting for my hand to heal. And then I go back and end up playing a little bit, a few games there. But, yeah, it's just like, you want to end on your terms. And you're right. The biggest thing is play while you can.
Yeah.
And we had, so from 03 to 13, the game started to shift directions into probably what it is now. But the 03 to like the 08, 09s of just like, you practice hard, you played hard, and you lived hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just fun. And we had certain guys that, Scotty Ray is a good friend of mine. He played he was playing in Birmingham my freshman year in Huntsville.
Wow. Yeah.
He played, he lasted, I think, until 10 or 11. So, you talk about a guy with a great career as well. There's some guys you just see along the way. I remember playing my rookie year in Amarillo, Phil Crow. He used to play for the Senators.
Jeez.
And he was down playing with Colorado Eagles that year.
Yeah.
And you just see so many different stories and you meet so many different people that it's awesome. And so if someone said, hey, would you do it again? I'm like, absolutely.
Oh, 100%.
Why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Would I learn a couple different things? Would I maybe work out before I went and played in Missouri that year? Probably. There's obviously some different things you'd tell your younger self, but your younger self was just going with it.
Yeah.
If I didn't go out to the bar that night with my buddy on a Wednesday when we played on a Friday, I wouldn't have met my wife.
Yeah.
So you pick and chose what you were going to do. Was it always the right decision? No. But, did you show up and play hard the next game and maybe fight a guy just to show you guys that, hey, my bad.
Yeah.
I got you guys. And yeah, it was, we call it a job. It was one of the best things I've done for 10, 11 years. The amount of people I've met. Yeah. Did I play in more cities than I would have liked to? Absolutely. The couple teams folded. You don't expect that. That makes you start thinking where you need to go. Did I make a couple wrong decisions at places I should have played? Yeah. Looking back, I wish I had a zigged instead of zagged for a couple places, but again, it's experiences.
Yeah, totally.
And it's not going to be perfect the whole time, much like life, much like your real job. It's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
But it's hockey. You get to play hockey for, your job. And the summers that's what is, talk about scrambling and trying to find different ways to, because I don't know, I'll just say it, you get paid while you're playing. So from October till whenever your team's done, you're making a paycheck. Once that's done, you're looking for, I cut lawns one summer in Amarillo. It's 110 degrees out. Me and Derek Hahn cut lawns all summer. I was fortunate. I ended up getting became an assistant pro, not a big deal, when I lived in Denver. So I taught golf for a couple of years as my summer job, working at a golf course. Still talk to the head pro, Keith Soriano, who hired me back in, I think it was 07 or 08. Still good friends with him. So you talk about relationships along the way.
For sure.
You have your hockey relationships, and you have your, what did I do in the summer? So it's a really neat thing to do. So if somebody gets an opportunity to do it, absolutely. I don't even know, and I feel bad. I have no idea how they're doing things this year. I couldn't imagine being a fringe player.
It's a tough one, man.
This year, with am I going to play?
Well,
Should I play? Should I get a real job?
And that's the thing. Like, this year's not a lot of jobs. East Coast League went back. Like, let's call it 12, 13 teams decided to go back. Another bunch are going to jump in second little bit, see what happens. The AHL is supposed to start next week with camp, and they're hoping for like a February 5th, 4th date. But some teams have opted out of the AHL season this year because they can't have fans. So a lot of these teams aren't going to survive. A lot of them are NHL owned, which is fine. But even at the minors, like the East Coast League and stuff, it's, there's some of them have limited fans, which is fine. But it's gonna be tough to kind of string a season and pay and all that kind of stuff. So it's gonna be hard on the minor leagues for sure.
Fort Wayne starting, I think, first week of February. They just released like a 56 game schedule that's gonna run till June, which is great. I mean, because if there's a guy who, oh my God, in my last year, you want him to be able to get on the ice for a little bit,
for sure.
End on his terms. Can you imagine ending because COVID?
I know.
Shut your
but so many people, man. I think even NHL guys will end up getting kind of shut out from last year to this year that won't, that aren't playing. Like, you look at a guy like Corey Perry. He got signed in Montreal, didn't make it. Now he's, kind of in limbo a little bit right now, kind of waiting. So it's unfortunate, but it's been a weird year. And then the minors is even worse because there's less jobs this year than there would have been last year, or without COVID. So it's definitely a tough one, man. Now, the transition coming out of hockey, kind of, we'll wrap it up because I know, man, I'm taking up a lot of your time. But so, what are you doing now, and how did real life kind of, how was that transition as far as getting a job, and did you kind of have an area that you wanted to get into, or is it something that through connections and things like that you were able to kind of land what you wanted to do?
Well, we went back to that. So that dealership in Saskatchewan, the guy calls me up and he's like, "Hey, why don't you come up here and sell cars at the dealership?" And I'm like, "God, I don't want to sell cars, man. I got 5 kids. That's a hustle every week, like every month.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be like, my kid's going to eat because I can't sell enough rides. You know what I mean? I didn't want that. I didn't want that life at all." And he goes, "You know what? I got it. I'm going to make you my service manager." I'm like, "Okay, I know nothing about cars, man. I can barely pop a hood." And he's like, "Nope, you don't have to. Have you captained teams before?" I'm like, "Yeah, captain." He goes, "That's all you're doing. You're just leading them." Okay, here's what I'm going to make. Really? Okay, yeah, I'm in. Let's go. I'll learn.
Yeah.
And the transition was huge for me because I lived in there was 3,000 people in rural Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
So Saskatoon, if anybody can look on a map right now, Saskatoon is about an hour and a half east, and then you just take a highway straight west and you run into Rosetown. Now, don't know what I'm getting into, but I can tell you this. The community of Rosetown and the people there are probably salt of the earth, nicest farming community of people I've ever met in my life. I mean, they were just like, it was the transition I needed to come into the real world because,
That's cool.
I mean, I was 34, I think, when I went there. There was this group of guys who had kind of grown up together, and they were all like 23 to 27, and they played wood bat baseball league, and they had the Allen Cup, and they had men's league hockey, enough to field like 6 teams in this town of 3,000 people.
Wow.
And it's exactly what I needed for a transition because you brought the locker room mentality into a small town. You still felt kind of important, and you could go out and golf and play hockey with these guys. And, having 3 or 4 guys who had played pro hockey before, all in the same situation.
Yeah.
And it was perfect. It's what I needed. And Holly had one of her best friends. I played with Kyle Hood for a couple of years in Arizona. Well, Kristen and Holly became like best friends. Hoodie was living, and he was like, "Dude, you got to come up here. It's unreal." No, unreal. It was great at the time for us. Super people. I still talk with a lot of the guys there today.
Yeah.
Little messages here and there. I mean, it really was perfect for me for 18 months. But I had a wife who wanted to come back to the U.S. I had to come back to the U.S. for my green card purposes, or else it was going to run out. And then it was like, okay, we're going to live in Canada forever. You know, I've got 5 girls who are all American citizens.
Yeah.
Holly's an American citizen. So that was our choice. And we were like, we got to go back. You know, my family wasn't in If my family had been in Rosetown or close to it, I could see us staying there.
Yeah.
But my family lives in Ottawa. You know, it's closer for them to drive to Fort Wayne than it is to go out to Rosetown.
For sure.
And it was a great transition, exactly what I needed. I played golf. I played baseball. Again, I picked up, was playing Woodbat Baseball League. Golfed a bunch. They had a little 9-hole course there that was, pretty much perfect. And it just gave me the escape from hockey that I needed. And it gave me a job. Like, becoming a service manager at a dealership, I always tell people, I used to get cheered on professionally. Now I just get screamed at professionally because, your car's broken, it costs money. It's just one of those things where, so I had to come back here, and we laid the map out of the U.S., and she picked Fort Wayne. So a guy who sold me my car when I played here, I call him up. I'm like, we'd still kept in touch this whole time. After he sold me a car, when I needed an oil change, he'd come drop a truck off, or I'd drop my car off. He'd give me a truck to drive, and just really good dude. He's actually one of my better friends now. Still, he's the general sales manager at the dealership that I'm service managing at.
Oh, cool.
It's a family business in Fort Wayne. The owner's a tremendous person, and so that was my in, and so I'm back there doing that now, and I'm trying to relate it to. I try and bring a hockey mentality to it. Like, we've got myself, service advisors, people who answer the phone, and technicians are all a big team.
Yeah, totally.
So everything's a team, and if they start looking at shit individually, then everyone gets tunnel vision. But when you look at it from a team aspect, you realize that if I make this decision, I'm going to let so-and-so down. So you kind of keep everybody up, and that's because I'm not a car guy.
Yeah.
I mean, still not a car guy. I'm learning. But, you learn to, because I've dealt with situations where, you show up to a rink, you put your bag down, and it's like, hey, you meet 15 new guys, and it's like, okay, we're playing together this year. Let's get along. And, I have that relationship with customers where nothing really bothers me anymore. They are upset. I have probably been in some sort of situation through my hockey life where, like, I can talk myself through this. We're good. We relax, and, you kind of move on. And so that's been good. Holly's picked up a full-time job after, being a stay-at-home mom, kind of traveling around. She's in with a hospital here in town, and she's just absolutely killing it, which is awesome for her to go from, being a stay-at-home mom to, finding her own career path now.
Yeah, that's great, man.
Which has been awesome for her. And for, for my girls to see mom out there, who raised them, and now she's absolutely kicking ass at work.
Yeah.
It gives them someone to look up to as well. And she's, an unreal role model for the girls. So
that's awesome, man.
We're in a really good spot here. Like I said earlier, the sports in this town it's great for the kids. It's big enough that it's competitive. I mean, there's a lot of competition here in town, and we're talking 250, 300,000 people. So it's not like it's a small, like it's a good sized city.
For sure.
So it's been great. And so that's awesome. The transition's been good. Obviously I joined a golf club championship this past year. Again, no big deal. So I've kind of met a group of guys there who are kind of, they like golf, and it's nice to go and play golf a couple times, chirp some guys. You know, you have some guys you can let it out with, and tough to chirp people at work who don't like to be chirped.
Well,
it's
such a different mentality though, man. Like even, we get together,
Right.
Once every couple of years, and it's just like you've been like you're 18 again back in the locker room. Like which is awesome.
Yeah.
And if you don't have those outlets, like I've got a good group of buddies here that same thing. You get together for right now because of COVID, we're locked down. We're doing like online poker games, and we get a Zoom call going on the side. And it's just, that's the fun part about it. You know what I mean? And so I think that's one thing too. Anytime I moved or I was away, when I wasn't playing anymore, I was coaching out east in St. John. I jumped on a senior team, just like kind of like you did, up in Saskatchewan. Jumped on a senior team and got to know a bunch of the guys there, and then hung out with them, and just kind of get your boys real quick that way. And golf, same thing, right? Jump on a golf course, get to know some of the guys like golfing, and yeah, get out to men's night and meet some of the people in that town, and next thing you know, you've got a little group that you're hanging with, and makes that experience so much better, man, of moving around or living in a different place for sure.
Yeah, you take, it's the guys who, I can reel through every year of like 5 guys who were absolute beauties, who were, fun to be around. And I still talk with, or try and, keep up, thankfully for social media, some good, some bad, but the good is you can keep a tabs on all these guys who now have families. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You had kids, they watched you have kids, and now, you're turning around and watching them have kids. And Scotty Ray, his kids are, like, one kid, his oldest is a goalie now.
Oh, no way.
And I know he's playing junior hockey as well. And I grew up, when Owen was 2 years old, that was my rookie year. So Owen was in the locker room with us.
That's crazy. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And now the kid's, a 6'2" goalie, being drafted to the O or getting looks to go play college hockey. You kind of, I watched him. Scotty and I played together for, we only played together for 2 full years. No, I take that back. 4 years. 2 in Amarillo, 2 in Rocky Mountain. And he's from Ottawa as well. So we see each other.
Cool.
So one of my good buddies, still a guy who you constantly talk with, see how things are going. But yeah, so you watch his kids, and you watch other kids who are, Brent Culleton. His daughter is now at Northeastern playing college hockey.
Cool.
I knew Peyton was in the locker room, or around the locker room when she was 6 or 7 or 8 years old. They're growing up, and you're watching these kids grow up and do their own thing. So it's just really cool, and you miss. That's for guys is what you miss. You miss the experiences with them, just the dumb shit you used to do on a bus ride for 10 hours, in the locker room for, I can't tell you how many teams have a Price is Right board because practice is from 10 to 11, and guys, stay around, shoot pucks for 20 minutes after practice. All of a sudden, by the time you get out of the shower, you got one guy everyone's got $1 in, and they're betting on the showcase showdown at the end because Price is Right's on at 11 o'clock in every city, and it would come on the TV. And 3 or 4 different teams did that. And how dumb is it? Sounds terribly stupid right now.
Oh, it's the best though, man. Oh yeah, get right into it.
For sure. You get $16 going home on a Monday. Life's good.
Yeah.
Going for lunches with the guys. It's all the hockey's great. It's the experiences and the people you meet, and yeah, it's just one of those things I can't imagine there'd be many guys who played pro who would say, man, I just wish I never did.
No.
I can't see very many people at all saying that.
No, yeah, very, very few. I would agree. Unless you had, bad experiences, which we're hearing a lot. We're coming a little bit now about junior and things like that. But I think, a lot of that is definitely the culture, the way it was back then. And I think a lot of it is just how you navigated that culture a little bit and what kind of guys you had around you and different things like that. And I think,
Yeah, and it's funny you say that. I that was something that I was never around that shit.
Yeah.
Like all these horror stories coming in now, like you want to talk about fortunate of where you played, like, Roy and Archie, being the head of those teams and having, the Ottawa Valley area, a lot of the guys you grew up with were the guys you played junior hockey with. So it was not like you have all these different guys and like, oh, we're going to do this to this rookie. It's just, we didn't have that. I mean, it was.
Yeah. But it's also,
and it makes you feel welcome.
I think the big thing there too, though, is those two, Archie and Roy, you had good leaders, you had good management, you had good coaches. And I think a lot of times, I'm not blaming the management or the coaches, but if stuff like that's going on, you got to be a pretty big, head in the sand to not know that something's going
Yeah.
on and not have your finger on the pulse a little bit. So at the end of the day, a lot of that stuff's kind of maybe let a little bit too loose. And then, as well as I do, we all had, some crazy guys on our team that if you took the leash off, they're going to do some dumb stuff. So you have another guy kind of keeping an eye on him, or you have your leader saying, hey, like, make sure, or that you have a rookie that's maybe timid, never played junior hockey, never lived away from home, never showered naked in front of the boys. Well, hey, like, just keep an eye on him, you know what I mean? And so I think there's ways to navigate this, and I think it got, some of this stuff, I think there was obviously a clear lack of leadership, and even some of the things like you talk about school and stuff, like, not doing what happened to me as a freshman to the freshmen when they come in. You know what I mean? Like, and I was treated fine, but whatever it was, drink too much or have a rookie party where you're just trying to get the guys drunk. Well, let's not do that. Let's have some fun with it. Like, you know what I mean? And just trying to change that a little bit as you get going. If something happens to you that you don't like or love, then make sure you don't do it to somebody else. Cause that's what happens a lot of times is, oh, I got whatever. I got hot boxed, so I'm going to hot box this guy, or I got shoved in the shower, so I'm going to shove, you know what I mean? It's like, well, why repeat it? Like, let's change it. And change the culture.
And that's, talk about fortunate. It's in juniors, I never dealt with it. In college, I mean, our college rookie party is still one of the funnest parties we've had. It was at your place, and no, it was at your place, and it was not embarrassing. It was, we had a week of fun, like, putting a hockey helmet on and wearing hockey gloves to class all day is harmless. But you did, or hey, by the way, you're walking backwards everywhere this week. You see these kids walking backwards to class, and you keep looking over his shoulder and like going up the stairs, and it was harmless fun, which made it fun. When you cross the line, I got no business for that. That stuff doesn't make any sense to me. But the harmless fun that we did was, I mean, the fact that I still remember the rookie party, back from 99.
Yeah, that is success.
It wasn't that, obviously it wasn't that bad, right? It was a lot of fun. And it's the people you surround yourself, and there's a lot more, I don't even know what the right thing to say is here, but with cell phones and everything else going on, I mean, we didn't have those back then, but we policed ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, the room was policed, the ice was policed, it was all policed by each other. You're going to be an asshole, you're probably going to be gone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the way it went. Now you've got, whatever cameras and all this other stuff, and so you're being policed by society.
Totally, you got to be careful.
At the same time, social media, you got to be extremely careful. And it's crazy with some of the stuff that we've decided to do in college, got away with, with a video camera or someone cell phoning us, it'd be a different story, but, it's all harmless stuff, jumping into bushes and, finding a pool to hop the fence and, go swimming at 2 a.m. and felt like a right idea at the time, but again, harmless, and you kind of move on.
Totally.
But,
well, listen, buddy, man, I really appreciate it. You and I could do this all night for sure. So, but no, that was awesome, man. I really appreciate you kind of telling your story, obviously, and quite a career, man. So, congrats on that. And obviously, I enjoyed our time together, even though it was years ago at college. But it's great to be able to keep in touch with you and kind of see how you're doing. And congrats on the 5 kids. That's there's your trophy. There's your exit strategy right there.
No, I appreciate it, buddy. Thanks for having me on. It was. It's always fun to talk about it. I mean, I don't talk about it much anymore. When you have a buddy who you can kind of shoot the shit, I think, what are we going on now? Almost a couple hours. Yeah. We could probably go 2 more. But, I appreciate it, buddy.
You're stuck at home with 5 girls. No one wants to hear your stories about hockey back in the day. No one's interested, man. Your daughter's like, Dad, seriously, shut up. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Thankfully, I've got a few fights on YouTube.
Yeah.
That when they start bringing boys over, I can just run them on a loop. And it was when I was older, one of my earlier days. I didn't know how to fight, so
there you go.
Thankfully, there was no iPhones out back then in my rookie years, and I was getting my ass handed to me by these men. So
there you go.
No, but it was good, man. It's it's fun. It's more fun to watch them grow up doing their thing now too.
Oh, for sure.
I don't have one that plays hockey. none of them have shown any interest. I think 3 of them have never skated before.
There you go.
So
There you go.
yeah, so it's
all right.
done, and I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.
That's awesome, buddy. Okay, well, have a good night, bud.
All right, Tom,
All right.
take care.
To kind of raise that bar.
That extra gear, the first 3 steps,
Huge strides in the performance.
that I might not be the player I am today.